Hi, Uprisers. It is Tricia LaCroix with Sacred Uprising Institute and Conference. And today we have Bliss Prema, and we're going to be talking about the cosmic being. So before we bring Bliss on, I wanted to mention about our conference that is going to be starting here September 18th, 19th, and 20th. And it is going to be in Santa Cruz, right outside of Santa Cruz, California, in the hills there. And it's about an hour from San Jose. We'll be at Mount Madonna. And it's a 3-day conference, the 18th, 19th, and 20th. And all the speakers, most of the speakers that you see here on these videos will be at the conference. And our focus for the conference is infinite love, dissolving into infinite love, becoming infinite love, understanding that you are infinite love, and awakening to that. So we'll be covering everything from Christ consciousness to the divine feminine, the divine masculine, the consciousness of oneness. We are going to be talking about calling in the one, and the one being yourself, being the God within. Also, whether it's relationships or whether it's your finances or whatever it is that you want to call into your life, how you do that and how you work with the energies of the universe through Kabbalah to draw that into your life. So please go to our website, which is sacreduprising.com, and go sign up so you can take advantage of our early bird special. So let me just get Bliss on here. Bliss, I just added you. And then we can talk about the cosmic being. I love everything that Bliss teaches. In fact, I love what she teaches with her life when it comes to, hi, Annette. I just invited you, Bliss. Hey, Jill. So everything that you teach, Bliss, is just this higher vibration. It's living a life that some may not recognize. It's very different from what this, the 3D world, what we're the old paradigm, what that is. And you live this whole different existence, which attracts so much beautiful abundance of manifestation into your life.
So true.
Yeah.
So thank you. It's so funny. As soon as you and I get on the same screen together, my heart just swells. And every time I'm like, okay, I'm not going to smile and be so happy. I'm going to try to talk serious. And then I see you and I'm just like, yay. Hi, beautiful.
Hi.
So much love to all the beauties that have joined us as well. So many beautiful, familiar energies and frequencies joining us today. Muriel and Jill and Christopher and Perry, Carol, Erin.
Yeah, and just so all you that are watching, so you know, your energy is part of this. So understand that it's not just what Bliss is teaching and me being part of the beauty that she teaches. It's you being part of this. So I love that everyone's jumping on right now.
And I was literally just going to say that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about becoming a cosmic being. And so what I thought about how to share about this was just to actually take it back to the original concept of the hue man. And so when we look at the etymology of the word hue in actually quite a few different languages, going to Sufism and into ancient Egypt, it actually refers to hue as being God.
Yes.
So then you have the God and the man. And so in the beginning, and none of us actually really know. And I think the people that do know have kept it to themselves and used it for their own advantage. And yet here we are, like millions of humans that are now waking up and waking back into our truest self and our truest form. And so when you think about that, if you think of what the human is, it's that bridging of our God frequency, our creator frequency, our source frequency, even right down to our genetics and our DNA, into these physical forms and vessels known as man. And so I feel like there was a time in our existence where we were very, very highly designed.
Right.
with all of our DNA activated. And all we have to do is look back into history and see the things that we have created, and to know that there has been a time where we were fully awakened and fully in our highest power. And then there was a moment where we, I believe we chose to deactivate some of those creator strands, and to kind of allow ourselves to go into a bit of a slumber,
Right.
and to just experience life in order to experience self. And now what's incredible is that here we are in this beautiful time and age where we're all choosing to reactivate ourself, and to reactivate that which was dormant, and that is our personal power. And it also is the extra strands of DNA that were previously termed as junk, right?
Right.
The junk DNA.
Right.
Yeah. And so the beauty of this journey is that there is no they that deactivated it. There is no negative force working against us that wanted to make us smaller or subservient. I truly believe that it was all us. And when we are in our I am way of being, there is no other that could do that to us. So we were able to step into radical accountability, and take full accountability, and to agree that with purpose we chose to do it that way. And now here we are in this beautiful reawakening, where now we are choosing to reactivate our most powerful self, our most powerful godlike source self way of being.
Right.
And so this is an experience that I know both of us have gone through, and a lot of the people that are joining us right now are actually already in the process, or going through the process as well. And so one of the people that I really love to follow is Barbara Hubbard.
Yeah.
She's just so on par with all of this, and she actually termed termed it as a cosmic species, that we're actually evolving ourselves into a cosmic species. And so for me, I prefer the terminology of cosmic being.
Right.
Because there's a huge difference between the human that goes through the third dimensional, and it's all the doing.
Right.
Versus, and not that there's a competition or a comparison, right, but and then ascending into the cosmic being, who now bees love, and focuses on love, and is anchored in love. So for me, those are the two sort of ways to be in this experience that we call life. So it's either the third dimensional human, the one that's asleep, the one that forgets
right,
how much personal power, right, that we actually have. And we've created third dimension with such precision that it's so easy to fall asleep into the third dimension and to forget how much power we truly have, because there's nobody else creating third dimension. Like, it's us. Like, every single step of the way, it's
right,
us.
Right. It is us. And it's very easy for me when I go back into third dimension is when there is a trial, or where there is something that is fear driven, that that all of a sudden love, because I'd like to say I want to dissolve back into love. I loved how Lori Green talked about that last week, dissolving into love. And that is what my goal, I want to dissolve into love. But when I come out of that and go into the fear mode, then I'm in the 3D and I'm not comfortable, and I don't know, I can't make the right decisions, and I'm in my head, and I've lost my heart center. But when I can go, I know that if I want to go back to 5D, I go right back into my heart center, I dissolve back into love, and then everything just falls into place again.
Exactly. So what I've been doing is so we have, for me, with when I'm processing and I'm finding that there's something that's coming up to be resolved,
right,
or healed, and so it's like, that's for me what third dimension was created for. Third dimension is our ability to come into the source training ground that is our life, right? Why we choose to be here. And so we go into third dimension and we really like get the opportunity to have what is in third dimension, what is fear-based, what is not of love, rise up. So that's the ascension, right? So that's literally rising up. And then we have the choice whether we want to work with it, to heal it, to understand it, to love it, and return it to love. And then all of a sudden that third dimensional aspect has now been raised up into fifth, and then we get to be the maintainer of that frequency into fifth. So the human, and obviously like we've all been there and we've been staying there for quite some time, the human just thinks that that's all there is, that this is just the way that life goes, and that there's constant pain and suffering, and even choosing pain and suffering sometimes on behalf of other people that are in pain and suffering. And so it's like this pattern that continually just keeps working its way around, and then blocks get created, and there's no rising above. And so what we really want to actively work on as we become the cosmic being is bringing up these aspects, and then really learning how to look at the full spectrum of what the aspect is. And so whatever, is in third dimension that I've become a master of, whether it's pain, suffering, an emotion that doesn't make me feel very good, it's become a long-term resident instead of just a fleeting messenger. And then really seeing what could be on the other side of the spectrum and really stepping into it. So, for example, what I've recognized was just at the beginning of the year, and what I was working on was that over the course of a marriage and having 2 children, I really became a caretaker. And I was so deep in caretaker mode that I completely forgot about the other side of the spectrum, which was self-care. So then I had to fully step into self-care and fully love and learn self-care. And then once I had full spectrum of caretaker and self-care, then I could bring it into this neutral space. And you see, when we bring it into neutral space, it's right into our heart. So neutral space is that 0 point because it's completely identified, sought to understood, healed, anything that had been stuck deep within that third dimensional vibration within me, and then brought into the heart space and fully transformed, transmuted, and returned back to love. So for me, that becomes my path to source. So I don't know if you can see how I'm doing it. And so what I find is that as soon as I stray off the path of source, that's when I start to feel disconnection. That's when I start to feel isolation. That's when I start to feel sadness. That's when I start to feel not in my heart space anymore. And all it takes is this beautiful, just like, hey, return back to the path of source.
Right.
And all of a sudden I can feel my heart expand, and I'm back in. I'm locked back into that place that makes me feel complete connection and the remembering of who I truly am. And who I truly am is my source self,
So
my cosmic being.
I love that. Let me ask you this question. So from what I'm hearing you say, or maybe it's just with the thought process that's going through my mind, is that when I have a burden to carry, when something happens in my life where there is pain, it is my opportunity to resolve that for source. Is that what you're saying?
Beautiful.
That
Beautiful.
gives
Well,
a
you,
whole
right?
different dialogue. That starts a whole different dialogue, that it's not my problem, it's not my issues. It's like, okay, wait a second. No, I have the opportunity here, no matter how painful it is, no matter what is driving this, that I can offer this healing for source, which is for the whole, which is for everybody. So others that come after us don't have to go through it like we did. I
Absolutely.
love that.
There's a beautiful saying. There's a beautiful saying that says, "May my suffering be in service," right? And
Oh,
so I love
yeah.
that. I think it really does give this like amazing mission to what we can accomplish. And yet at the same time too, I also want to like incorporate, may my love be in service.
Yeah.
May my lesson be in service. May everything that I go through be in service. And if we bring it back to like the original beginning, right, where source decided to from one to become two, just so that it could witness and observe itself, and to to understand itself and to dive deeper into self, then every single thing that has happened from that moment in time until now is all in service,
Yes.
to our original concept, to
Yes.
our original mission, to our original opportunity to fully understand and recognize our source self. So yeah, so rather than seeing it as a burden or as something that you want to like repress or shove down because it's too painful, it's like when I'm in my source self, I recognize that there is absolutely nothing that I would have created that I couldn't love, that I
Right.
couldn't
Wow.
transform
Yeah.
back to self.
Right.
So every time that we have these beautiful opportunities, it's this like absolute reclaiming. As soon as I transmute it and return it back into love, I reclaim. And that's how the cosmic being continually expands and continually. So even just like bringing it into the term the cosmic, like why the cosmic being? And it's because when we like, so the heart chakra, I mean, the heart chakra is there with purpose, right? We created it with purpose. It has its function. And yet once we unlock the heart, like I've actually unlocked all of the chakras so that this being could be a full just light being. And so even the chakra itself has a way of being a layer of separation from the truest source self, right?
Right.
And so the whole point of the cosmicness is that we, as these human vessels, have the ability to step into such tremendous love that our space, that this heart space, doesn't need to just be contained by a vessel. It has the propensity, is that even a word? But to be as vast as the cosmos.
Yes.
And the more that I accept as a mission all of these opportunities and experiences to transmute all that is into love, the more that this vessel has the opportunity to expand into the cosmos. And then when we get into that space, we recognize that it's unlimited,
Yes.
that it is infinite,
Yes.
and that it is internal.
Yes.
And then we are really remembering our true source self, our vastness that has the capacity to love all that is, because that is all that I am.
It's a shame that this isn't taught in schools, and I mean, parents who have young
Mm.
children, to teach it to your children, because as they're going through life, I mean, I wish that I would have known this years ago, because there's so much that I could have changed with my life, just having this principle that is so radical and is so full of love, to understand that, okay, instead of going down certain roads, you can look at it and love it and see the beauty in it, because you can transmute it.
Well, see, I think it's all perfect. Like, I think we've designed it the exact way that it is because that's the way we did
I
it. So I
love how you
trust
said,
in
I
bliss.
think we designed it. I love that.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, we have, and I'm so grateful to be 44 years old and to be in the space that I am, knowing that, wow, if I've come to this level and I'm 44, where am I going to be at 88? Right? Where are we going to be in the future? And so what's beautiful is like I see my children stepping out of love and stepping into those third dimensional experiences and those frequencies, and they're 5 and 10, and I get to say to them, hey, return back to your heart space.
Right. Right.
Return back into there and take a deep breath. And Erin, who's joined us, and Courtney, who was live with you yesterday, just that whole thing of like, what would love do?
What would love to?
And every time we ask ourselves that, and we consciously come back into our vast cosmic heart space, we recognize that love is really the only way. And love is that ladder that we can keep climbing.
Yeah.
And every time that my human gets stuck, because it wants to be hurt or it wants to feel pain, I recognize that this is just a space within me that I haven't come to love
Right.
yet.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I love Lori said the heart space is infinite. William, I love your comment. The abyss of love sleeps dormant within us, patiently awaiting its host's arrival. I
Yes.
love that. That's beautiful.
These,
Living
yeah.
within that, yeah, living within that, within this wisdom, taking this wisdom and applying it to our lives, which is knowledge, can absolutely transform us. This is this is infinite love. This discussion being the cosmic
Mhm.
being, this is infinite love. This is what sacred uprising is about. Being a cosmic being, becoming, it's not even becoming because we already are. So how do you even say that? It's not, is it awakening to it? Is it we're not becoming because it's already existing? Uh, I don't even know how to say it. I don't even know how to put what infinite love within and what we're created from and what this whole universe is. How do you even put that into words? And maybe it goes back into, once you define it, you lose you lose its meaning.
Well, thank you. And I wanted to kind of touch on that because like in all the religions, it's really hard to put a name on what is,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So like, you know, in the Catholic religion, we have the word God. And so, you know, I like to use the word source. But even in like the ancient Hindu philosophy, you have, you know, the trinity of Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahman,
Mm-hmm.
and then above that you have the Brahma, which is basically it's the undescribable,
Right.
because as soon as we try to describe it, we limit it.
Right.
And so that is like the paradox of our existence, right? Is how do you begin to put an identification into something that is so vast and so grand, and yet here we are, and we all have that essence embedded within us.
Yes.
We all come from that original space and place and source. And so part of the journey from the human into the cosmic being is the ability to transcend the labels, is the ability to transcend the need to identify, right? Because as soon as we latch onto a label, there's a layer of separation
That's right.
between
Yep.
who I really, who I am,
Right.
right? So we want to, the labels are beautiful. The labels to me are, I mean, we need to have layers of identification. We need to have layers of distinction. We need to have a common language so that we all know that we're all speaking of the same thing. So in one sense, it's really important to have the layers and the identification. And we created ego with purpose.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Ego gets such a bad rap, right? And yet, the ego is so important because it helps us with those layers of identification and distinction. And then, so that's one end of the spectrum. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have the releasing of the layers of ego and the releasing of the layers of distinction. Because what happens is, while, you know, so for example, I have a new First Nations name, and it's really powerful and it's really potent, and I'm still learning it and I'm still understanding it. And if I were to attach into that, then I would only be thinking in that one general direction, and again, that would take me off the path of source, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
we have to be so careful with those labels and those words, because as soon as we, even my name, Bliss Prema, like if I start thinking that it's all just about happiness and love, well, there's more to source than just happiness and love. So even there, I begin to stray off the path of source. So as a cosmic being, I recognize that even the layers of identification and the labels, even though they're so beautiful and they're so powerful, and they remind me, they keep me awakened, and they keep me pushing forward on my path, and making sure that my trajectory is like super high and fast. I still always need to stay on the path of source, and to not be distracted
Right.
by
You
anything.
know, what's interesting is that, you know, as you go through this spiritual path, you find that you have guides, or you find that, we'll call it, for the layman's terms, past lives, you know, where mine was Sarah and Hathor and Artemis. And what I started doing in my spiritual journey is that I identified with them instead of seeing them as guides leading me to source. And so I became Sarah, I became Hathor, instead of going, okay, these are my guides, And of course I'm them. And so is everybody. Everybody has a piece of them because we're all one. And this is just a guide to direct me to source, to take me back to source, to remind me, dissolve me into source, because love is my mother and love is my father. And I was birthed in love, and I live in love, and I breathe in love, and love is who we are. And that's source. That is the divine. That is all that's sacred and holy. But so those labels, I think, I agree with you. They're beautiful. And in our human, like when we're trying to teach things, we have to put labels on things so people can understand them. But don't get so stuck in a box with the labels.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that. That's just exactly the perfect example. Thank you. And I just want to kind of dive into that just a little bit deeper, just to make sure that everyone that's with us understands that. And so it's like, we have to remember that at the very beginning, we were one.
Mm-hmm.
And then that one decided to extend and decided to expand. And so in that, we all have that oneness within us. We are that speck of source, and we all contain it equally.
Yes.
And so what happened was, as that one constantly expanded, we had all of these profound and beautiful existences. And I mean trillions now, who knows, right?
Right.
And so as we come into, so this particular lifetime, so this one known as Bliss Prema and this one known as Trisha Lacroix, we imprinted and chose and programmed certain lifetime memories, because we needed the code, we needed the frequency, we needed the memory, so that we could accomplish what we created to accomplish in this lifetime. So for me, I have quite a few lifetimes, some where, absolutely simple, like literally simple, minded.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was mute. And then I have Isis as well, right?
Yep.
And so it's like, of course, right? So it's like, and of course, everybody else can have the exact same ones as well too, because we all come from the same original source.
Right.
So it's really beautiful when we acknowledge and we step into our previous life experiences, and because they're all running simultaneously.
Yes.
Right? There is no past life. It's all our lives, and we're all running simultaneously. And that's the beauty of it all. And the beauty of tapping into those codes and tapping into those frequencies is that that's how we that's what helps transmute the human into the cosmic being.
Yes.
So I want to touch in more on for those that may be watching and going, okay, so I have been in my human, I'm such and such an age, and so now what do I actually do to transmute into the cosmic self? And so for me, what when I reflected back on how to share about it, what felt like the most important thing to offer was that it really became like a drive. Like it really became like a single pointed focus. Like there was nothing more that I wanted. There was nothing more that I wished for. There was nothing more that I desired than to transmute into my higher self. And it overcame all of it. Like it overcame my human existence. It was more than my desire to be successful or to be anything. Like it became the most important thing for me to become. And so every time that I would go dancing, I would get into my source self, and I would like pray, I would meditate, whatever it is that works for you.
Right.
And it was like this constant, every thought, every word, every action was the maintaining of this desire to become my most cosmic self, my future self, my higher self. And then with that devotion, right? So think of everybody going to church on Sundays, and it's similar to that sort of devotion, except that rather than it going to an external source, I was putting that devotion and love back into self. And then that devotion was what was fueling the evolution within. So, for example, I recently, or I think last year, I posted something saying, "May I have your consent to activate your junk DNA?"
Yep.
right? And hundreds of people have said yes. And the thing about that is that it's not this being Bliss Prema that's going to do it. It's each person independently. And so it's literally just the internal consent that yes, that there is something within me that is far more powerful than I've ever given credit for. And now it's time, now it's my time to turn it back on. Now it's my time to step into a higher self-awareness, into a higher level of consciousness, and to flick that switch, which we each, with consent, flicked off at some point.
Right.
And now we're saying, yeah, we're going to turn it back on. So there's nobody else that can do this for you. We're all here on our solo journey together, and we all have the personal power to do what it takes to transmute into the cosmic self, into the source self, into our higher self.
And I want to say this, and this was going through my mind as you were talking, and it goes back to, you know, when we talked about suffering and resolving issues for the creator. When you go what we call the dark night of the soul, when you're going through those issues, I beg of you to understand that the greater the burden, the greater the riches, the greater the abundance, if you go through it and you walk through it, because the treasure you seek is within the cave you fear. Keep walking through it, because on the other side, you are going to have abundance that you can't even fathom right now. And what they were showing me is, 3 years of going through the dark night of the soul for me. And what I am living right now is beyond my wildest expectations, beyond my wildest. I never dreamt what I'm living right now. And so it's okay. Those of you who are hurting, there's so many hurting. There's so many suffering. We all have it. Even I woke up this morning because I'm worried about certain things in my life. But I got to tell you that on the other side of that is the greatest blessings of your life, because you are the cosmos. You are source in a human body. You are having that experience, and know that you are not separate from the abundance that is waiting for you. You are not separate from the love that is waiting for you. You are not separate from any of it. Just know it's right on the other side.
And I think what's so beautiful about what you said, Trish, is it's like, yes, like 3 years of a dark night. Oh my God, girl. And yet when we step into that radical accountability, I truly believe and implicitly trust that there is nothing that I would create for myself that I couldn't 111% overcome.
Yes.
That I would not create something for myself that wasn't a possibility for me to work with.
Yeah.
And so that's also great. I'm glad that came up, because I wanted to just sort of touch into what can happen in those dark nights of the souls. And that's when we kind of get lost in that victim mentality.
Right.
And so victim mentality is like, it's like tying a real heavy weight around your ankles and then staying in a space that is really hard and painful. And yet, when we can just, I mean, obviously I've been there, I've been in the victim. I'll actually share just a quick story. I had an abusive boyfriend that was a pattern from having an abusive stepfather. And I ran away after getting hit, and I was in the schoolyard and I was crying. And then it was the first time that my voice came to me and said this really impactful thing. And at 19, it really transmuted me from having a victim mentality into more of a warrior. Like, I can accomplish and I can achieve and I can overcome this. And what she said was, "Where are the cameras, Bliss?" So meaning, like, I'd grown up watching soap operas.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and in soap operas, it's all about the victim and the pain and the suffering. And so here I was going through this, and she's like, "Where are the cameras?" And it was like, oh, wow, like, talk about shift me automatically.
Right.
And so it was just that reminder that when we get stuck, the second that I find myself in victim, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
There's
Right.
no way out of victim. Right. And so for me, the beautiful transition from victim, and if I catch myself going there, it's to go into that creator reminder, like, hey, I created this scenario. I created this experience. So why would I create this? Like, what is the lesson here? What was I hoping to achieve? What part of myself am I not fully in love with? Where is there something embedded in me that is not of love? And then to ascend it up and to like just to understand it and then and love it. And then once I do, I can reclaim it. And again, that's my vastness in my cosmic self becoming even more grand, even more infinite, and even more untethered and unharnessed, pure love frequency.
That's beautiful. And you know what? And so many times is like in the victim mentality, you want to tell the same story over and over and over and over because it's our way of reliving it or getting attention for it. And that's sometimes I have some friends that will want to talk about things that happened to me, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. In fact, Annette knows this. I say this to her all the time. I'm not talking. We don't need to talk about it. Let's move on. You know, because it's not it's not who I am anymore. It's not. It got me to where I am, and so I'm actually very grateful for everything that happened because it's where I am today. And so living in the victim mentality, you're right, it doesn't get us anywhere. It stalls us. It keeps us in 3D. It takes us from our heart center and puts us up here in our mind. It doesn't help to bring,
it doesn't accomplish.
It accomplishes nothing.
It doesn't accomplish. Exactly. So I would actually love to share about the Council of Three.
Yes.
I haven't actually shared it yet. So this came to me as I was receiving the activations, and I was at a house party, and somebody that I knew had just recently been dumped by her boyfriend. And so we were in the kitchen and she was sharing the story, and I was feeling empathy and sympathy for her. And the story kind of was going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I would sort of interject with like, okay, well, so now you can,
right.
And it wasn't being received, right? So I walked away from the conversation gracefully, and then within 5 minutes heard the exact same story, literally like word for word being shared to a new group of people. And so I recognized, like, as soon as I recognized it in the other, I was like, okay, now bring it back to self. Right. How often have I done that?
Right.
And so then literally the next time that I caught myself going to do that, it was like, oh, this is gross. Like, this is literally like gross, dense, low frequency. So what am I really doing here? And when I thought about it, all that I'm doing is I'm sucking an other into my low, gross, dense frequency because I haven't done the work. And so I'm literally projecting out my grossness, my low frequency, my pain, my suffering, whatever it is, onto another in the hopes that they'll resolve it for me.
Right.
Right. So that's not fair. It's not up to another to do the work for me.
Right.
So then what I did, but there are those times where I'm unable to do my own processing. Like I can only get myself to about, 65 or 87%. But I need a reflection. I need a mirror. I need somebody to help me extrapolate what the golden nugget is. And so what I devised was, and this is actually thanks to a really good friend, Evan Jolicoeur, is a council of three. And so he goes to his council, and then I was like, what if we just make it a council of three? So what I do with that council of three is I think about my situation. And then I look at the beautiful circle of professionals and friends that I have in my immediate reality, and I choose three people that I think will really be the best mirrors for me, that will be the ones that can really reflect and not hold me accountable, not let me fall into victim. And then the next step is to ask for consent. And so once everybody knows what the Council of Three is, and Trish, you've been on my Council of Three many times, and vice versa, is to ask consent and say, would you be in my Council of Three? I'm going through something. And you can create even a timeline. Like, I would like 5 minutes of your time. I would like 10 minutes of your time. So that there's really clear boundaries being created. And the consent is really important, because when we usually like vomit, we just call somebody up because we need, and we don't even really ask if it's a good time for them, or if they're interested, or if they want to be involved. We just sort of call them up and we're like, blah.
Right. Yeah, right.
So now we're creating this really beautiful, strong container of consent. And so then you can say, okay, this is what's going on, and you have your time limit. And so the Council of Three, and those are the only three people that you speak to. And by the third person, you need to be able to create a resolution. And so this is just another way of like just tightening up all of our aspects of self that are perhaps not in love yet, not of love yet, and extrapolating the gold from our experiences that we've created for our growth, and then asking the others in our immediate reality to help us with it, and then we transmute it. And it can happen just like that, or it can happen within a week sometimes. But then again, it's like we're taking whatever was in that third dimensional low frequency and we're transmuting it back up into the fifth,
Right.
which is anchored in love.
Right.
And then again, I'm expanded back into my cosmic self.
Right. See, I love that. That is so good.
Yeah.
And I would challenge people to find your council of three, make some boundaries with how you, because it's very easy. And I've been at fault for this too in the past, is to go and just throw up to everybody that I'm talking to. And yeah, and you're right. You do it. I did it because I was trying to resolve it and trying to find answers through other people instead of going within and finding the answers from myself. But having a council of three to assist, I mean, is so beneficial.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some things for the cosmic being, right? It's that really knowing that we have the potential to have this heart space be as vast as the cosmos. And it's no longer doing life the way the human does it. It's stepping into a being, and that state of being is love. And so even just the council of three is just one more little tool that we can incorporate into our everyday life that just assists us in maintaining that love frequency and maintaining our cosmic self, as opposed to the human who gets locked in and trapped and stuck in drama and embroiled in the pain and suffering.
That's so good. That's so good. Is this going to be some of the things that you're going to be touching on at the conference at Sacred Uprising in September?
Well, I'm definitely, we're creating that beautiful Saturday night. Oh my God, it's going to be so beautiful. On that night, I'm going to be sharing Creator Mind, the cosmic coming out story. And that's a story that I only share with the initiates in my circle. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to be just so exquisite. So I'm really honored to be able to share that at the conference. And then I'm also going to be sharing about the sovereign being. And definitely the upgrade, the transmutation from the human into the cosmic being is part of the process. And then the sovereign being is actually one level even higher.
You know, and I haven't mentioned this to anybody but our wisdom keepers who will be at the conference. One of the things, first of all, you feel that vibration, everybody. That's what the Sacred Uprising conference is going to be about. What you're hearing today, how you can radically change your life. But one of the things that I'm going to be offering people is that I do light body Merkaba activations, and I do have to touch people to be able to do that. So I'm going to be offering that to everybody who is going to be at the conference. So I'm really excited about being able to be of service to do that for those people who are going to be attending. So yeah, we're taking this higher. We're just taking it higher.
It's going to be so amazing. Like what I know to be true is that every time that I think of it and visualize it, it's like there's like a hum, a vibration from that weekend. So I'm literally like, so part of that that single pointed focus that I mentioned, from like transmuting from the human into the cosmic being, I actually have that single pointed focus for our conference in September as well too. So that's just one of the energy threads that I'm constantly feeding into and sending energy into, knowing that there's going to be a lot of code activations that happen for us as a whole.
Yes.
It's going to be really,
it's very exciting. Yeah. Bliss, thank you so much for being here. I hope I will say this since I have you on here, I hope you have some time afterwards because I actually want to talk to you real quick.
Of course.
So yes. It was so great to have everyone here. Please keep in mind that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to see these videos within 24 hours. But Bliss, before we go, please tell us how people can get in contact with you to, and what kind of services that you offer to assist people with their journey.
Absolutely. My genius is working with people on their levels of consciousness. So wherever you are in life, my ability is to be able to tap into the soul and to hear what the soul wants to share with you in terms of where you need to go, what's holding you back. A lot of it usually has to do with experiences that were in the past that we can literally go in through neural passages and reshape, rewire, and transmute back into love. So I work with everyone on so many different levels, working with people that are suicidal, to marriages that have completed, to finding life, the next higher purpose in life, to people that are ready to transmute from the human to their cosmic self. So yeah, it's I do 30-minute sessions, 60-minute sessions. It's all based on the Conscious Evolver, which I am the steward of. It's a system that I transmitted and have developed over since 2012. And yeah, so blissprema.com is my website, and I offer all my services at pay what you can afford. So if your time is now, I am available.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody that watched today. Please, like, you know, we said before, your energy watching this is also part of it. It also helps what we do and getting the word out there and changing people's lives, because when one heals, we all heal. Bliss, I love you. I'll talk to you on the other side. But everyone, thank you so much. And keep in mind, we have Terry Stanley at noon Pacific Standard Time. She is our energy healer. She's going to be talking about guides and angels. So we'll talk to you soon.
So much love.
Okay, bye.